thank everyone for being here, for attending this very precious and solemn occasion. We're honoring a very special person, Don. And I also want to thank the Tahoma National Cemetery and the Veterans Administration, the United States Army, for allowing us to celebrate Don's life in such a beautiful place, such beautiful grounds, and in a beautiful and respectable and sacred fashion. Donald Fahey Sullivan, born May 25, 1921, to Martin and Dorothy Sullivan in Navasota, Texas. He was one of 7 children. He died on May 16, 2017 in West Seattle, Washington. Don attended a school in Navasota, Texas, where he graduated in 1946. He then attended Sam Houston State University on a track scholarship and graduated with a bachelor's degree in 1951. He was very active in his college career, and yet he still managed to finish in the top quarter of his class. He was honored in the who's who among colleges and universities, and he was president of Alpha Phi Omega. He was secretary and treasurer of the Sam Houston Letterman's Association, and he was the president of his senior class. He also lettered 4 years in track. One distinct and fascinating fact about his family history tells us of their family's love for their country. Don descended from a family with a long history of patriotism and military service. Dating back to the first half of the 1800s, his great-great-grandfather served in the military in the years even before the Civil War. And his father and older brothers were involved in both World War I and World War II, respectively. Don comes from a family of patriots and heroes with stories, no doubt, some very, very interesting and wonderful, but too numerous to recount. We simply don't have time. After graduation, he himself was drafted into the service, where he served 2 years in the United States Army around the years of the Korean War. While in the service, he was stationed in Hawaii, Pittsburgh, California, Fort Steele in Oklahoma, and Fort Hood in Texas. His desire to become an officer was cut short while attending officers' candidate school in his 12th week at Fort Steele because of a serious auto accident. However, 3 of his stepchildren served in the United States Air Force for a term each to continue this great legacy. Upon his honorable discharge, he returned to Houston, where he initially went to work for General Motors and then moved to Westinghouse Electric Corporation. He then went to work with Tenneco Natural Gas, with whom he was employed for 28 years. In 1981, August, Don met Teresa. It didn't take long when they both realized that they needed one another and that they should spend the rest of their lives united to one another. They married on April 21, 1982. They enjoyed 35 wonderful years enjoying life together and loving one another. Don Sullivan lived a simple life. He was hardworking, committed to his career, but he did know how to enjoy life. He was a devout family man who loved children. He had 4 of his own and 4 stepchildren. He loved his cowboy hats and cowboy boots. He talked with his sharp Houston accent that went along with his great wit, a southern sort of twang that went very well with his many, many personal stories, both of his childhood life and other great experiences. Don loved to tell stories. Some stories relating to his experiences in his high school days, his high school fights, his experiences as a track star in college. One in particular that he would tell was one when he ran track for Sam Houston State University. His brother John L., who according to sports records was the 2nd fastest man in the state of Texas, and himself were participating in a track meet against one of their rivals, the University of Houston. John L. won both the 100 and the 200-yard dash. Don himself won the half mile and the mile. After running, he would tell us how he would routinely jog an extra lap around the track, something customary for runners to do in order to cool down. In the process of running around the track, the announcer gave the names of the winners of each event. Sullivan wins the 100. Sullivan wins the 200. Sullivan wins the half mile. Sullivan wins the mile. He would chuckle as he told the story because some of the University of Houston athletes were a bit puzzled at the idea that such a runner like Sullivan could be so good that he could win so many race events, ranging from short sprints to long distance races. Don loved to tell that story, and he was a good storyteller, a great storyteller. He loved sports, and he closely followed Houston's teams as well as the sports programs his own children participated in. He also loved to hunt. He loved to play golf. He was a member of Tenneco's company golf team. Don was also a well-traveled man. He traveled extensively with his wife all over the United States, traveling as far as Europe, Alaska, Canada, and the Philippines. He even lived in Hawaii for 7 years. He was a man of wisdom and knowledge, and he had a great appreciation for people of intelligence, people who were successful as a result of their knowledge and intellect. One of Don's favorite pastimes was solving complex crossword puzzles that appeared in the daily newspapers. Don loved to laugh. He loved to make others laugh, and he would often laugh at himself. He would often make reference to his bald head, sometimes calling us to be careful not to mess up my hair. Both of them. And he often admired men with a head full of hair. Yes, Don loved to laugh, but he also loved to love. He was perfectly and genuinely comfortable expressing his affection, especially to his dear wife, Teresa. He didn't mind walking beside her in public and holding her hand. And it wasn't uncommon to see him sneaking a little kiss upon her cheek, upon her lips. He was very affectionate, romantic. He and his wife went on many, many dates together. Don was a good dancer. Donald Sullivan loved God. He possessed many religious books, which was a clear indication of this. He was a man of faith who supported his church congregation. He loved the Word of God, and he even taught Sunday school. When he moved to the town of Friendswood, he faithfully attended Mary Queen Catholic Church with his family. In 2005, he and his wife moved to the big island of Hawaii to join their son. Their intention was to remain there for the remaining of their lives. As the years progressed, however, he began to show signs of sickness. This was some 8 years ago. The family realized that his situation was becoming serious. He was beginning to show signs of decline. His wife thought it best to move to Seattle for the sake of convenience. They would be accessible to family, and they themselves could easily access the available services already in place for veterans such as himself who suffer from conditions such as his. In 2013, they moved to Seattle. On the morning of May 16, 2017, shortly after midnight, Don passed away peacefully with his loving wife next to his bedside. He would have been 88 years old 9 days afterward. His departure grieves us all. Few of us that knew him can say that we haven't shed tears of sadness at this great loss. Our dear friend is no longer with us. He will be missed. His smile, his laughter, his love, his labors, his stories, his cowboy hat, cowboy boots, his strong, firm handshakes, his pats on our backs, his cheering during those games, everything that he was known for. We can, however, rest in the fact that he is in God's care now. The biblical King David, the beloved, one who was as human and imperfect as the rest of us, once failed miserably and was given a choice by God to choose the type of discipline he preferred. Does he choose to be placed into the hands of man for discipline, or be given to the hands of the Lord? David said in 2 Samuel chapter 24, and this is paraphrased, I am in a dilemma. Let's decide to place ourselves into the hands of the Lord, for his mercies are great. Don is in the hands of the Lord. His mercies are great. Donald Fahey Sullivan is survived by his wife, Teresa, his children, Kent, Susan, Donald, and Laura. And his stepchildren, Grace, Carmi, Mel, Irene, along with several other grandchildren and great-grandchildren. May you rest in peace.
Thank you.